Hi folks. So right, so we're in, I think we're in Mitcham / Streatham, I think. Not sure exactly 100%. I think it's more Mitcham, I think. But this, where I've brought you to today, is Streatham Cemetery. And the reason why I brought you here today, apart from the wind, and again, I'm trying to work out where best to point this camera when the wind, try and stop the wind from blowing on this camera. Right, so the reason why I brought you here is that last night me and Joe were watching different things, and as we do on YouTube and blah blah blah, and then anyway, I forget how it came about. You know, like these things go, they sort of like, you know, you're watching one thing and then something else comes up, and anyway, I ended up watching Steptoe and Son. And then I found this documentary about them, because I knew nothing about the two actors. I watched it when I was a kid. I used to love it. I still like it now. You know, I watched the odd episode now and again, and you know, I still find it quite funny. And like I said, it was a big thing when I was a kid. You know what I mean? I used to watch it all the time with my dad. And also, it's sort of like, it's got a few other connections to me, just in the sense that, like, the characters that they played, particularly with the old man, but you know, my dad knew loads of people just like them, is what I'm saying. I grew up around people like that almost all my life when I was a kid. My dad knew some, like, I've always described my father as like, he was like an Arthur Daly come Del Boy from Only Fools and Horses. He was a bit like that. He was a bit like on the edge, you know what I mean, a bit close to the wind sort of thing. He wasn't exactly a criminal or anything like that, but he wasn't exactly straight either necessarily. He was sort of like on that border sort of thing, and I think in his day he was even a little bit more wayward, shall we say. But obviously, as you know, he settled down, kids and all the rest of this, I think he kind of, but the thing is, he knew a lot of people that were on the other side of the fence, as it were, sort of thing. He knew a lot of dodgy people, shall we say. You know, I feel a little bit reluctant saying dodgy, but he did know a few characters, let's put it that way. He did. There's no two ways about it. My father knew a few characters. So that's another reason why I like Steptoe and Son, because it reminds me of some of the people my dad knew. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, blah 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 blah. So I was watching this documentary about them, because like I said, I knew next to nothing about them, because like most people, I guess, that like, I just knew them from the TV show. So anyway, it turns out they're really interesting relationship that these two had, these two actors, because they'd been at it for years. I forget how many years that. It was a long-running sitcom for a long time. Anyway, I won't go into all of the details right now, this, that and the other, and I will find some more information and put it in with this video. But anyway, it turns out that Wilfred Brambell, or is it Brambles? I can't remember. Bramble or Brambles. Wilfred Brambell, the old man, you dirty old man. Because it was a father and son sitcom, blah blah blah. Anyway, so the guy that played the father, the old man, he was buried here. And I didn't know that. Like I say, I had no idea. I knew nothing about them. Like I said, I'll try and find maybe try and get a snippet of that documentary as well, just sort of give you a little snippet of it, try and give you a bit more information and background on these two, because it turned out that by the end of the run of the show sort of thing, these two, right, absolutely hated each other, and blah 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 blah, and there's lots of different intrigue and so on and so forth, and it was just really fascinating, to be quite honest. And yet on screen, although on screen they kind of seem to portray that hatred towards each other anyway, kind of thing, because that's the nature of the relationship of the two characters, interestingly. So, but anyway, so like I said, I thought, do you know what, Streatham's not a million miles from me. It's only a bus ride. It takes about half an hour roughly, and I thought, you know what, let's go and see if we can find his grave, because I'm curious. Do Do you know what I mean? It'll be fascinating and interesting, and well, I think it would. But anyway, you know, it's just like, because you know, like I said, it's kind of a tragic sort of relationship these two had, for both of them. The other guy, Harry H. Corbett, and just really amazing, you know. You know, there's stuff about them that I had no idea, and really, really fascinating, interesting, you know. So yeah, okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll have a little wander, and I'm afraid it's going to be quite open, and there's a lot of wind at the moment, so I don't know what the wind noise is going to be like on this camera right now, to be quite honest. So okay, I'm going to leave it there for now, and I'll catch you folks later. Like I say, I'll try and find his grave if I can. Bye for now. Okay folks, so a couple of issues have now cropped up. I mean, as you can see, this is obviously an active cemetery, which most cemeteries generally tend to be, but there seems to be, well, say seems to be, I'm pretty sure it is, there's an active funeral taking place at the moment. It's way in the distance, but I'm very mindful of pointing my camera in that direction, even if you won't really see them necessarily, because they're way in the distance now. I was just about to show you how big this place is. It's actually quite massive. Right, I'm hoping, right, you can't really see them from here, I'm glad to say, but this cemetery is huge. But over in that general direction, and I'm trying not to, even though you probably won't be able to see them from this distance in the camera, there's no way, but there appears to be an active funeral taking place. So I'm very mindful of filming in here, for obvious reasons, and until I just saw them just then, I just thought it's people visiting their graves, which, you know, Saturday and Sunday is traditional. People come to visit their relatives, blah blah blah, and obviously I won't film while, you know, gratuitously film people doing that. Do you know what I mean? Obviously I'll just film areas where there's nobody about, you know what I mean, and you know, so, you know, obviously I'm respectful of people's privacy and stuff, man, you know what I mean? You know, I've been there. I think a lot of us have, one way or another, so, you know, I'm not going to intrude on people's grief, no way. But you know, and like I say, and that was the other thing. The other thing is that, like, I didn't realise just how big this place was. I just didn't, you know, because the way it looked on Google Maps, and it's because it's got a small little entrance, and it's like kind of tucked away and down a little side road on a sort of like housing, well, I'll say housing estate, whatever you want to call it, you know, where the, you know, so where people live and stuff, you know what I mean, and so I guess I just thought it was like a small little local cemetery thing, because it's also got a crematorium as well, so I just thought it might be a smallish, but it's actually massive. And I know I'm thinking, like, how the heck, because I haven't got a clue where he would be buried. Wilfred, as I said, that's the guy we're going to try and find his grave, just out of curiosity. I'm curious, that's all. Yeah, so because of those factors, I'm kind of thinking maybe this isn't such a good idea after all. Oh man, it just seems to be the way at the moment, doesn't it? You know, I just thought it'd be really interesting, you know what I mean? It's like, I thought to myself, well, you know, I know Stretham's just up the road from me. Most people have heard of Wilfred Brambell's, and, you know, Steptoe and Son sort of thing, even across the world sort of thing. I mean, it went down a storm in Australia apparently. They were really, you know, quite well known around the world for a while, back in the 70s and I think into the 80s, I think, or thereabouts. I think they started in the 60s. Early 60s, I believe, went through to the 70s, and I think either late 70s or maybe even touched on early 80s. I can't quite remember exactly how far the series went, but it ran for a good while. Anyway, I'll tell you what I'll do is I will put a bit more information in this video, and let you know, you guys, especially for my American subscribers and that, and people that don't actually or aware of Steptoe and Son, I'll give you a little bit of information about it. But yeah, I just thought it'd be rather interesting, and just come and see where his grave is, like, you know. It's like when we did it Highgate Cemetery, you know, when we was checking out Highgate Cemetery. There's quite a lot of famous people buried there, like, you know. So, and it is a bit of a sort of tourist attraction. I mean, they actually charge you to go in. Do you know what I mean? They actually charge you £4 for the privilege of walking around there, sort of thing. So, you know, unlike this, where it's just, you know, obviously it's just a normal, well, I say normal, you know what I mean? Sort of like it's just a everyday graveyard, as it were, you know. But yeah, there is one particular famous person that's buried there. Right, okay. As I said, the funeral is just ahead of me there, and as I said, obviously I'm not going to point the camera in that direction, and I'm also feeling quite uncomfortable just doing this now. So okay, for now I'm going to leave it there, and I'll catch you folks later. Bye for now.